Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K Collector, and I recently put out a video talking about how Sony's outage, the outage that they recently experienced, reminds many physical collectors why it's important to have physical video games in your collection. And some of the comments, a common thing that I got back on with a lot of the comments regarding that video was that physical media is still pointless without the internet, especially when it comes to seventh generation consoles and older. In fact, I even had one person mention that PlayStation 2 games are pointless without the internet, which that was a comment that I just absolutely ignored because I've never heard of that. But and that there could be validity to that, but I've never experienced that because I have never connected any of my PlayStation 2 consoles to the internet, and I've been able to play every single PlayStation 2 game that I own just fine. Now, when it comes to the PlayStation 3, though, I will admit that there have been times where, because the console wasn't connected to the internet, I ran into issues with certain games. Or even when it comes to the Xbox 360, I know that I've ran into that issue, specifically with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Sorry, not Turtles in Time, Mutants in Manhattan. I remember I had just gotten an Xbox 360 and I wanted to make sure that it was working. And the closest game to me at the time was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I put the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in, and the console kept requiring an update to play the game, and it wouldn't play. Like, it wouldn't play the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Now, I did not go through any troubleshooting. I didn't really go really far to try to see if I could get the game to work without having to do the updates necessary to play the game. But like I said, a lot of the comments that I got on that was that physical media is still pointless without the internet. And I would have to beg to differ with a little bit of an asterisk, and you guys can let me know down in the comments below because we kind of need to settle this once and for all. And there's so many camps on this. There's so many people that feel like, you can still play your digital games without the internet. You can still play your physical games without the internet. Then there's people on the other side who say when the internet's gone, you can't play any digital or physical. I am of the mindset, and I believe that from what I've experienced, right? I'm only going to speak on my experience, and I have done little research on this. I do need to take a little bit more time to probably research some of what a lot of people are saying with regards to being able to play a lot of these games online. But from my experience, I have been able to play pretty much every game in my collection without being connected to the internet. That's primarily because most of these games, if you look at them, they're not really two-player games. They're not games that you need to jump online and play a bunch of people. I don't have a lot of Call of Duty games or, like Gears of War or any type of game that really would require me to jump online and play with other people. Now, you might say, well, Y2K, what about the trophies? And what about, patch updates and things like that? I do recognize that if there were no internet, that I could probably be missing out on all of the patch updates with a lot of these games, and I would be playing them in their most raw form, in their most unrefined form, with any glitches and issues that would have came out initially with these games. So that piece I understand. But the thing is, I come from a generation where that was common. You think all of these PlayStation games came like picture perfect with no issues or no glitches? No. Growing up in the 80s and the 90s, we were used to games coming with glitches and issues and things like that. And in fact, that's part of what made the game fun, figuring out what the glitch was and seeing how you could exploit it to your advantage. As a matter of fact, one of the most common things that we used to see, and I'm going to just use this as an example, because this is a perfect example, not NFL 2K, but for those of there you go, look at that. I dropped that. But when you look at NBA 2K, right? And thankfully, somehow that did not break. But when you look at a game like NBA 2K, NBA 2K came with a bunch of glitches. I remember there would be games where you could dribble down the court and dunk on nothing but air and still score the basket. There were so many glitches in NBA 2K where you would shoot a three-pointer and you would make a three-pointer that looked like an air ball. You had people flying across the court in NBA 2K. There were glitches where the basketball would get stuck on top of the Jumbotron and never come down, and you'd have to start the game all over. Anyone who's played enough NBA 2K back in the day, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Between NBA 2K and especially 2K1. When NBA 2K1 came out, oh man, the glitches were crazy, but that never stopped us from playing the game. That never stopped us from wanting to experience or enjoy the game. That was just a part of the game. And it was something that we got used to. So for me, not being able to play a patch perfect or, game isn't going to, make me curl up in a ball and cry. Now, there's a flip side to that coin. I do think that a lot of games that come out, and I would put this more so on like the PlayStation 4 generation and moving forward, there are a lot of games that just are not done well. You know what I mean? And they're relying on these patches and things to dramatically improve the overall gameplay experience. So it's one thing for a patch to come out that maybe fixes a skin or fixes a texture or maybe adds something small to the game. But when we need patches to drastically improve the entire gaming experience, that's when it becomes a problem, and that's when it's no longer just an enhancement. That's when it becomes, a point where you're selling people unfinished games, and now they need patches to actually finish the game. And we've seen that happen with a number of games that have come out. And to me, that's different from saying, okay, well, you need to connect these games to the internet so that you can get, whatever necessary updates, trophy updates, whatever the case may be, something minor. If it's something minor, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to lose sleep if I play any of these PlayStation 3 games and there's a minor detail missing here or there. Because again, I come from a generation where that was common. And anyone who's, if you've been around for the Nintendo era, the Super Nintendo era, N64, we all know there's countless games that have tons of glitches on them. And honestly, my generation has come to find some of those glitches endearing. They're almost a novel part of the experience when it comes to playing some of these retro games. So not having a patch perfect game does not make me lose my mind. However, I do understand that there may be some games that do require the internet. So I'm really throwing this question out to the community. How true is this? How much validity is there to this? If you're a person who's done extensive research and you know the games that absolutely need the internet to function versus the games that just may need a couple updates, let me know down in the comments, because this is something that I think is going to become this is an argument that's going to become more and more prevalent as we grow closer to the age where physical media is gone. And you're going to have those, a small part of me feels like you're going to have those who use that argument as a coping mechanism. They're going to try to cope with the fact that they don't have physical media by saying anyone who has physical media is dumb because you still need to connect to the internet to play the games. But again, I'm not an expert on this. I'm really interested to know the thoughts of the community. Let me know down in the comments. I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.